as I said at the outset, the costs associated with doing this are really pretty low, particularly in the context of the kind of benefits that you tend to get. Okay, well, to close, wait, one more question from Cease here before we close. Can you address the reprioritization of risk? Yes, certainly. Basically what I'm talking about there, Cease, is when you go through and you look at the new information that you've gotten, whether that be test results or design specification or what have you, what you want to do is say, okay, is there anything here that tells me that my risk analysis is missing a risk item, or that the likelihood or impacts need to be adjusted? And then so you would then make those adjustments. And then what's important is that those adjustments ripple through into your testing. So through the traceability of your risks to the test cases, you push the new risk priority numbers down into the test cases that you've created. Now you also want to, of course, that's going to cause you to reevaluate prioritization and sequencing of the tests and so forth, and possibly triage. You also want to look at the issues of effort allocation, because it might be that by reprioritization of the risks, you discover that you need to add some tests in a particular area, in which case fine, or that there are some of the tests that you created already for a particular area, or maybe you haven't created them yet, but you're going to create them, that you don't need because the risk isn't sufficiently high. Now, obviously, that's some amount of inefficiency there if you're dropping tests that you don't necessarily need, but of course you don't delete them. You just say, I'm not going to run these. I'm going to skip these because the risk isn't there to justify running them. You don't want to just go ahead and continue to run tests that have a lower level of risk. Like, oh, well, just because I got them, I'm going to run them, because, again, a lot of what risk-based testing is about is focusing your test execution effort. And if you run tests that aren't particularly high risk because you already wrote them, then that's really not going to make a lot of sense. Now, I see you have a follow-on question here, C's, which is, I think, a good one. So I'll get to as a logical grouping of high priority risks with lower level risks, can't there? And okay, so one of the things that you could be talking about here is efficiency of sequencing of tests, and if that's what you're getting at, well, yes, absolutely. There can be constraints and efficiencies associated with running particular tests together in a group. That kind of argues against running the tests in pure risk order, and then that's definitely something you can do. Just remember that the extent to which you're responding to those constraints and changing the order in which you're running the tests, you will undermine the benefit of risk-based testing that has to do with discovering the bugs in order of importance. So you want to be really careful about the degree to which you do that. And if you find that, the tests are all written and they need to be run in a particular order, which is not the order of risk, usually what's happened at that point is that you've introduced unnecessary and unfortunate dependencies between test cases that really should be engineered out, because certainly it can be the case that it can make more sense to run some tests in a particular order, but if you find that the test can only be run in a particular order, many times that's bad test design and engineering that should be looked at. Now, another thing that you might have been getting at here with your question, C's, and maybe you're getting at both, is if I run the tests in pure risk order, isn't there a possibility that I might never get to certain things? And wouldn't it perhaps make sense to have some number of lower level test cases, lower risk test cases, run earlier in the test execution effort, just to make sure that I've got breadth of coverage across the different functional areas and non-functional areas? And the answer to that is yes, absolutely. I mean, there's in my book, Advanced Test Management, or Advanced Software Testing, a book on test management, so it's volume 2, I talk about this approach to breadth-based risk-based testing, or breadth-first risk-based testing, where you want to make sure that you are sampling across the different functional areas and the non-functional areas in the first, say, third or even quarter of the test execution period. Now, you're still focusing on the higher risk stuff, but you're including some amount of lower risk stuff in your tests just to make sure that you don't miss them. Because if you do think that you're going to get squeezed on your testing, then that's certainly something that could become a problem if you get so squeezed that you end up not testing entire areas. Then the residual level of risk could be pretty bad indeed. Okay, so to close this session, I want to tell you a little bit more about the resources available through RBCS. And as I think many of you know, we run these free webinar sessions once a month. So check our website, rbcs-us.com, to sign up. If you want a special webinar presentation for your company only, this webinar or any other topic related to software testing, please contact us at info@rbcs-us.com or via our website. If you don't already receive our regular free newsletter, sign up at rbcs-us.com. By signing up, you'll get valuable discounts on consulting and training services, along with a regular newsletter that includes a featured article on software testing and quality and news about what RBCS and its partners are doing lately. You can also follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/rbcs and on Facebook at facebook.com/pages/rbcs-inc. Finally, check out the digital library, which has recordings of these webinars, podcasts, and videos. And don't forget, there is a extended video of me giving a presentation on this material and more in Melbourne, Australia. So if you felt this was good material and there was stuff that people could benefit from it and you'd like to hear more, maybe set up a session where you and some of your colleagues could view that video, because that's certainly not necessarily everything there is to know about risk-based testing, but it's a lot that you would probably want to know about risk-based testing, and it is completely free, like everything that's on the basic library, the advanced library, and the digital library. You can also subscribe to our podcasts via iTunes by entering RBCS Podcast into the search string, and you can subscribe to our videos on YouTube. So go out and do a search for RBCS software testing on YouTube, and you should find us. Okay, well, I'd like to thank everybody for coming, and thank those of you who asked questions for your insightful questions. I always enjoy those questions. I hope all of you will be back for the next webinar, and come ready to ask questions at that webinar as well. So this concludes today's webinar. Again, thanks everybody for joining us, and hope that you have a pleasant rest of the week.